right. Well, thank you for joining us today. We're looking forward to the discussion. We're going to take a bit of a different slant on some of the other presentations today and talk more about the application and the activation of unified measurement of applying AI and machine learning algorithms to making ongoing and continuous media decisions. So just to introduce myself, this is Doug Brooks from Ipsos MMA, and I lead our global client team. And Jennifer?
And hi, I'm Jenny Peelle. I lead brand marketing at Walgreens.
Perfect. So we'll start today by just taking you through an overview of what does unified measurement mean at Walgreens and how has it evolved. And then I'll hand it over to Jenny, and she will walk you through some use cases on how they're using it every day to guide strategic and tactical decisions. So the first point to cover is, what does unified measurement mean at Walgreens in general, and how is it applied? The unified program at Walgreens actually combines three different analytic techniques that are integrated, or we could use the term unified: marketing mix models that are updated every month, attribution models updated every week, and ongoing and continuous testing through algorithms that are providing feedback loops back into the attribution models and back into the marketing mix models to constantly recalibrate them. This is informing three critical capabilities for decisioning at Walgreens. One is annual budgeting and strategic allocation, looking at balancing things like mass versus local investments, brand versus performance, understanding strategic allocation to drive the business units at the total enterprise level and by business unit, and we'll talk a bit more about that when you see the examples. And then on a continuous basis, establishing marketing best practices. It also feeds a monthly executive dashboard, and you can think of this dashboard as the ultimate ongoing validation of the analytics, right? Which we simulate every month. What will be the impact of a shift? We track the impact of those shifts and then report it back to the organization on an ongoing basis and use that to continuously re-optimize. And then there's the always on component of this, the re-optimization, the retargeting, the reallocation of investments in campaign, across creative, across audiences and platforms. The program has evolved significantly over the last 3 years. It started with a marketing mix capability that was fairly episodic, and then moved to an automated marketing mix capability that was executed on a quarterly cadence. That then migrated through automation to monthly marketing mix and an aggregate level version of attribution, which then migrated to a fully unified individual level attribution capability, integrated with testing, integrated with the Walgreens CDP, along with a wide range of data partnerships for both data ingestion and activation. A couple of key points here that I think are very important along the way. One is the move to speed and to one-to-one attribution through data automation and also many ad tech integrations. The second, and you'll see some examples of this, is the cross-functional change management capabilities. So to talk about change management, it's been a focus of this, and I'll hit on this very quickly, but change management was really achieved through training and buy-in and ongoing continuous in-market validation. Once we gained buy-in cross-functionally, that actually drove not only the usage of those results, but expanded usage, and that feeding into the alignment of the program with ongoing business planning and business decisions to track in market the impact that it was having. So I'll hand it over to Jenny now to walk through a few of the use cases for activation.
Yeah, so what I think has been so exciting about this work is not only just the evolution of the tool set, but the evolution of the ways in which we've been applying it. And some of that was taking tools that had existed in that early walk phase and evolving them to use them differently. And some was about standing up new capabilities to answer new questions. I hope that these use cases illustrate for you like how we took that tool set and made it really actionable in our day-to-day and how it also drove total impact for our business. So when we think about the ways in which this work impacted the work, there's a range from truly strategic to much more tactical and day-to-day. So we'll walk through examples that hit on that as a bit of a spectrum. So the first example we'll talk to, and we'll flip to it in just a second, or maybe we'll flip back.
Sure.
Just to give you an overview of the journey you'll be on. The first, we'll talk about how we have leveraged this tool set to drive strategic allocation and halo discussions. This is really about how we integrate this work to make decisions around strategic planning. We will talk through how we've translated that strategic planning into a roadmap to project business impact that marketing has throughout the year so that we can drive visibility and track against goals in a really meaningful way. We'll talk about how we have used this tool set to answer specific questions that allow us to drill in locally, as well as understand where we have the greatest impact nationally. We'll talk about how this has enabled our continuous evolution to more audience first strategy. And last but not least, maybe the most traditional example, we'll talk about how we've leveraged attribution to drive day-to-day decisioning in our media. So to talk about the first use case, this one is super near and dear to my heart because this was really taking the tool set of MMM and leveraging it to answer a different question than we had ever asked it before. So what I think is so exciting about Walgreens as a business overall is the complexity of the business. We have a retail business, we have a pharmacy business, we have things like our photo business, our immunization businesses. Ultimately, those are all about driving that total enterprise. As we headed into strategic planning, we really needed to understand how to drive individual business outcomes to those different pieces and parts of the business while also achieving total enterprise objectives. And this gave us a great opportunity to leverage our measurement and attribution toolset to start to understand and analyze how these individual businesses and the marketing and service of them halo to each other so that we could start to better coordinate where we place our investment and ultimately maximize those investments to drive the right message to our customer and bring them into the full enterprise experience of Walgreens. So what this work really led to was a much deeper understanding of how we need to invest and completely revolutionized how we go to market and how we invest against individual businesses to ultimately dramatically increase our projected marketing outcomes for the year by really coordinating in a completely new way which businesses we're supporting at which time and how we're ultimately using those individual businesses as a front door to bring customers into that total Walgreens experience. For us, I think this use case was exciting because it led us to the second use case, if you want to flip to that, which was once we made these massive pivots to our plan, it really opened the door of how do we think differently about tracking and projecting marketing's impact against the business. I think this is a huge part of our ability to communicate with cross-functional partners within the business, whether that's our partners in finance or our business partners up through the enterprise. What that shift in strategy and that analysis enabled was the ability to then stand up a much more rigorous approach to revenue projections. This was all about providing that accurate visibility into how we expect marketing to perform against the total enterprise objectives as well as individual business objectives. This came to life as an annual plan that helped us understand our expected pacing, as well as a brand new monthly process that allowed us to revisit that pacing and continue to reproject the expected outcome of marketing, giving us the chance to quickly measure and respond to adjustments we made in our financial plan, adjustments that we needed to make in order to meet business objectives, and drive continuous and ongoing visibility to how marketing would perform in total, how we are pacing to goals, and how we are continuing to make adjustments to meet those changing business conditions. And for me, I think this increased visibility is especially critical in marketing for one, showing the impact of how measurement can connect back to the business, but also helping to continue to showcase how marketing drives outcomes for the business. To give a slightly different use case, I think you can see the power of how we have leveraged this measurement ecosystem to drive strategic planning and business outcomes. We've also been using it to answer questions for ourselves about how do we best maximize the impact of our advertising overall. So one key territory that we dug into was really better understanding the intersection of our retail footprint, retail operations, so store density, as well as media reach and consumer targeting. This ultimately allowed us to really think through strategically what should be that right mix of mass media at the national level, localized media, and then truly hyper-local first-party data. This ultimately, I think, enabled us to more efficiently drive reach against our customers and better understand how to optimize those dollars across different altitudes of our plan. So we were ultimately always maximizing impact as well as efficiency. I think what was especially powerful about this was also giving us a blueprint for where to hyper-localize our media, leveraging a combination of our first-party data and what we know about our store footprint and store radii to understand where we can really lean in more heavily and where our mass media has the greatest impact and where we should point it, ultimately taking us to a much more effective mix in total. Starting to move more into how we have leveraged this suite of tools and solutions around more, I want to say, tactical decisioning, not that those aren't equally important, but I think these have also been critical tools as we continue to migrate to a much more audience-first strategy. I think I spoke to the complexity of our business at the start. I think one of the critical pieces that we are consistently planning around is having multiple KPIs aligned to how we drive different territories of our business, whether that is increasing loyalty signups, driving customer acquisition, driving digital volume. What was really exciting about this work was the opportunity to leverage AI and build an algorithm to help us reprioritize audiences, messages, and tactics to ultimately meet all of those multiple KPIs. And again, enable us to drive greater outcomes against each by driving hyper-personalization and matching the right message and the right tactic to the right customer. And Doug, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about the AI component here.
Sure. Yeah, and I think this is it's a great example of taking the core unified attribution approach and adding AI layers to it to solve specific challenges. And to Jenny's point, it was an exciting opportunity to not only provide these insights, but really to set it up so that on an ongoing basis, the algorithm is retraining the models, it's learning, and using it not just for audience prioritization, but also audience creation, and that ongoing optimization of right content, right audience, right place, and right time throughout the year to continually optimize the spend, and also reduce waste in the process, which was a key point and a key value component.
All right, and last but not least, I think that when we think about our total suite of the multiple use cases for how we leverage measurement and attribution, we have leveraged it to drive strategic decisionings, to project out how we expect to perform for the business, to answer specific questions and accelerate our agendas. We also use it to truly drive attribution and ensure that we're maximizing our investment day to day to drive back to those projected outcomes that we set at the outset. So I think a huge part of the work that we do is leveraging things like MTA and attribution to drive optimization that is across partner refinement, audience and creative, ensuring we have the right audiences in the mix that can truly drive impact, and that is matched directly to the right message for them, and ultimately to manage both reach and frequency. And as I spoke to, we have a number of different tactical KPIs that we're driving to. And I think one of the key pieces of the power here is the ability to understand attribution to those individual KPIs. So we're not only seeing the total picture and how we project, but we're also able to really go deep into those individual day-to-day KPIs we need to drive and monitor how we're performing against those and how those roll up to that total enterprise. This has been incredibly powerful for us in increasing results across the board, whether that is increasing digital ROAS, increasing loyalty signups, driving improved efficacy and efficiency in our prescription savings club. This is truly the tool we use day in and day out to ensure that we are maximizing right partners, right audience, right message, and right tactic.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. This was we wanted to share this example as I think it's a great example of what's possible through analytics when you have the right partnerships, when you have the right governance model, when you have cross-functional engagement involving your agency partners, your executive team, all areas of the organization, and you have a proper roadmap to move a program like this forward, and also the right measures in place to be able to prove the value of it on an ongoing basis. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.